We're going to talk about this with our CFL reporter. Here's Dave Naylor. Dave, the most outstanding player from last season suspended for at least half the games this coming season. What was your initial reaction to this news?
I was stunned. I mean, this has been a conversation, Jay, that's been going on with everybody in the Canadian Football League for the last 2 or 3 months. You know, what do you think is going to happen with Chad Kelly? And look, it's a blind guess, okay? We don't know what's in the report. But we know there was an 87-page report that was commissioned by an independent investigator, which I think the Canadian Football League was smart when there was a lot of pressure for them to do something, when Chad Kelly had been served with this civil lawsuit for sexual harassment, and they took their time, outsourced it independently, and then made a very strong decision. And I think this comes at a time where, you know, there's women in football is a real growing entity, whether it's fans, whether it's participation, whether it's coaches, whether it's officials, whether it's strength coaches, all of those things. And I think the league came down hard because they wanted to send a message, not just to Chad Kelly and not just to the Toronto Argonauts, but I think the entire Canadian Football League, about women being respected in the and around the game. But to have the league's reigning most outstanding player, who not that long ago was standing on a stage in Hamilton holding a trophy, giving interviews about his outstanding season, and a guy who's a rising star in this league. I mean, the Argos were 16-2. It was his first season as a starting quarterback. To now be gone for at least 9 games, it's a stunner. It's an absolute stunner. And of course, we don't know the details of the report. The league, legally, I mean, they can't make it public. So we're still blind to decide whether what's in it fits the punishment, but we do know the league made a very strong statement, and that Chad Kelly's future with the Toronto Argonauts is now, I don't want to say in doubt, but it seems uncertain.
That's where I want to take my next question with you, Dave, because this is not just the most outstanding player, this is the highest paid player in the CFL. This guy, in many ways, is the face of the CFL right now. What's his future in the CFL at this point, in your opinion?
You know, I'm just going to go back even to last, I think it was August or September, when he was awarded that contract. And I went out to practice, and he was taking pictures with people. There were MLSC suits that aren't normally at Argo practice there. And it was like Chad Kelly had the world by the tail. And now he's got a couple of important decisions to make. The first one is, does he appeal this? And if he does appeal it, there's an opportunity for him perhaps to continue with his team. And sometimes these appeals take a while to get together with an arbitrator, have a hearing, have a decision. I mean, this is no different in some ways than any other CFL suspension, at least when it comes to the idea that if you appeal, you are allowed to participate with your team. So that's the first decision he has to make. The Argonauts could still say, even though the league can't prevent you from playing and participating, we're going to suspend you. That's a possibility as well. But the other decision he's got to make is whether he's going to subject himself to the terms of the suspension, which involve assessment by an expert and counseling by an expert in gender-based violence. And then a reassessment at the end of that process. Like, basically, they're looking for him to commit to a period of self-reflection and show that he's learned and understood what's gone on here. And if he isn't willing to do those things, I don't think he's ever going to play in the CFL again. So 2 very important questions for him. And the Argonauts have to decide, you know, with all that's been revealed and all that, you know, has happened, are they still committed to him as their starting quarterback? I mean, they've already paid him about $300,000 for this season back in January. So they have a financial commitment to him already for this season. But there's a lot in Chad Kelly's hands right now, and I guess in the hands of his agent who's advising him. I spoke to his agent this evening. They have not fully committed to an appeal, although they're certainly investigating, you know, how that would work and, you know, what process they would need to go through and how that would all play out. But it's, you know, what was a real good feel-good story, not just for the Argonauts, for the Canadian Football League. Chad Kelly winning the Grey Cup as a backup quarterback coming off a bench, and then followed it up with an MOP season, now looks like a very cloudy future.